by the expression environmental sustainability. And I have a definition that I found, and I think it's quite valid. It says, environmental sustainability is the rate of renewable resource harvesting, pollution creation, and non-renewable resource depletion that can be continued indefinitely. I think it's a fair definition, and frankly I can't see any reason why anybody wouldn't want the environment in which we all live to be sustainable the way we use it now. Why would we want to run out of something unless you've got something as good or better with which to replace it, and which doesn't have an adverse impact on your lifestyle? And history suggests that sometimes action on matters relating to the environment only comes after the event, after the problem. Many of you would be aware of the fact that the Chicago River had its course reversed. It now runs effectively backwards. Some would say that was appropriate in Chicago, but I wouldn't say that. Why did they reverse the direction of the Chicago River? Not to have it run into Lake Michigan, but to have it eventually end up in the Mississippi. And it was done because, and this is a quote from the newspaper at the time, the river flow into Lake Michigan was so sluggish that the sewage and rubbish clogged what the locals called the stinking river, causing typhoid fever and other illnesses. Problem, let's have an environmental solution rather than necessarily the other way around. Why do we think it is that matters relating to the environment aren't a high consideration when decisions are made by business and community leaders? Let me give you an example, because when I had the honour of being Rotary International President, I paid a courtesy call on many heads of state. One of them was the President of Hungary, János Áder. My intention was to encourage the support of the country for polio eradication and Rotary in general. But he'd been told in advance of my interest in environmental matters. And after we exchanged pleasantries, his first question was, what are you in Rotary doing about the huge amount of plastics in the oceans? Now, given that Hungary is a landlocked country, I thought that was a relatively interesting example and emphasis for him to have. But it turned out in our discussions that President Áder is very committed to environmental issues. My somewhat weak response to him was that Rotary couldn't solve all of the problems of the world, but I agreed with his concerns. And more information, of course, has since come to note into the public domain that the plastic residue in fish consumed by humans is increasing, and it is significant. So again, President Áder was ahead of his time. I'm a believer that the tide is turning, to continue a nautical theme, on environmental sustainability. It seems to me that more and more people are expressing concern about the state of our planet, which we are going to pass on to future generations. But some people believe it is political. Why is it seen to be so political? From my part of the world, I just don't understand what makes it political. Immediately after I made my theme speech, the fabulous theme speech, back at the International Assembly in 2017, wearing that attractive wattle tie and all of that, it included a brief mention about protection of the environment and asking for the Rotary world to plant 1 tree per Rotarian, a relatively modest task, I thought. I was approached by one of the incoming district governors who asked me if the planting of 1 tree per Rotarian was mandatory. That's exactly what he said, mandatory. I did respond that he was the governor of his district, not me. But what's the problem? Don't you like trees? And he told me, and this is exactly what he said, that climate change was a hoax perpetuated by the liberal media to disrupt business, and he wanted no part of it. I was somewhat taken aback, I confess, and I responded that I thought the world would be a nicer place with more trees, but the choice was his. What I should have mentioned was the economic and social advantage of a clean environment, the cost to our societies of unclean air and water, the lost productivity and financial cost of related illnesses, the damage to biodiversity that comes from the clear felling of forests, the impact of pesticides on beneficial insects that pollinate crops, and I could go on. And when I was RI President, I received hundreds, literally hundreds, of items of correspondence in appreciation of elevating the environment in Rotary's thinking, which was personally gratifying. I did receive two that took me to task for getting Rotary involved in a political issue, because Rotary is above politics. And I responded to every item of correspondence I received, which was naive, but there you go. And I responded to those two by asking them what made caring for the environment a political issue. And the answer can't be just because they deem it to be political, because that's just a really good way to shut down any conversation. I didn't receive a reply from either of them. So, to return to the question posed by the topic, why does a sustainable environment matter? Juliet and I had the pleasure of meeting then United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon in Korea, and we chatted about this very issue. He used an expression in regard to the environment that really resonated with me, and for which he has become very well recognised. You may have heard it. He said, regarding the environment, we have no plan B because we have no planet B. That, my friends, is why it's important.